Okay, I'm back with more development thing, and I guess start off with one. I apologize for the last few videos being poor quality. I screwed up my settings on OBS, but I figured it out. So when I've got it set up to record at the same quality as my stream, the quality sucks. This is because the stream quality usually is pretty low because I need to get it to not use a lot of data. I am limited on my upload speed. I have fixed it. I will be toying around with it more because I have to make different profiles for different things. So the main profile will be set to high quality, some of my other profiles will not, and we'll go from there. Um, but yeah, we're gonna do some development here, and I don't have a huge amount of time, so we're gonna probably only spend like an hour maybe doing this. I want to get back to writing on a few things. I'm working on kind of, I don't want to call them scripts, but I'm working on basically little files explaining what the name BBM means, so Built Broken Modding and gaming, why we have the name and everything else. Eventually, I'll go into detail on that when I get it all figured out myself, as I'm trying to remember the backstory of why we picked that name, because the backstory is, as far as I'm concerned, I picked the name as a joke. There was an inside joke where Cal Clavia, which is the guy who made universal electricity, and the guy who I worked for several years, used to call my stuff broken. And I was like, hey, I built it broken. And it was an inside joke that went on for a good while. And then when I created my own little, I wouldn't say organization or team or anything, I was trying to create some kind of title to publish my mods under. I started going with Built Broken, and I went with Dark Productions, a few other things. But when I finally left UE Team here a couple years ago, that's the name that stuck. And I went with it for a while. But it's taken on more of a meaning than that, but I'm not going to go into detail in this video because, one, I want to work on the game here. So since the last time we left off, we've gotten more GUI work done. We've separated our game logic out. We've got multiple threads going now. Stuff isn't exactly thread safe, but I doubt we're going to have any issues with that, as after all, the render data is just going to be calling get. We do have randomized entities. Let me zoom out here real quick. So the enemies are going to be randomly populated. If I actually here and hit run and reload repeatedly, should work out. So yeah, so you look at that, we randomly populate, and if we actually sit here and go around the map, they should be within 20 tiles of us, and there should be about 20 of these guys. We're not going to count them because I honestly don't care if that code's working perfectly. We did add GUI button clicks in one of these videos here, so we can click all the buttons here. They don't do anything right now. None of the buttons do anything at all. So we're going to work on getting these ability buttons to work first. Then we're going to do most likely getting these buttons up here to run properly. These are supposed to list the number of enemies. However, we need to create some kind of way of identifying enemies properly. Currently, we're simply saying if it's not player controlled, it's an enemy, but in reality, we don't want to do that. We actually want to create some kind of distinction of saying who's who and which one of these guys are friendlies and enemies and who we can shoot at and who we shouldn't shoot at. So we need some kind of way to identify civilians, I guess. First thing first, get the ability buttons to work. All of our button stuff is generated in the main GUI. So I'm going to go client, GUI, and then we want to go game, and then GUI game. Now right now we're just literally randomly looping. Actually right here we can actually do our buttons real quick. So we want to create an enemy button thing, but I don't have to necessarily make a new class for the button. I just need to create an action provider. We need some kind of way to handle this too. So we need to create public void. Actually, we don't do that. It's tricky how to do this because we need a way to identify the number of enemies in the world. So we have a few options we can do. I can simply just say every single tick I reload the GUI objects, which will be really bad for memory. Actually, it wouldn't be that bad. We would only be like discarding like some 20 objects every time the garbage collector. Well, we would only be discarding 20 objects a tick, 60 a second. So it could easily be discarding a few thousand objects a second, and the garbage collector is only going to run if we hit a certain memory limit, and that usually is every 15 seconds. So we could easily pile up a whole bunch of garbage objects. We want to kind of avoid that, as it means our game will run faster, and plus generating an object does take CPU time, and if we can just recycle the object, that's better. So we know we have an array of buttons. because we have an enemy unit row is what we're using. It's a grid. So we just need to go with some kind of update thing. So we want to go public void update. I believe update is actually a super object. Yes, it is. So we would go up in the update call. We want to just copy this whole call here. And we go display mouse X and mouse Y. So we want to go to super, and we kind of need to store the component supers over real quick because we got to return it. So we're going to go that return. Then between those two, we can actually do our update logic. You know what we're going to do? We're actually going to go to super real quick, and I want to make a method called doUpdate. So public void doUpdate, and then pass this in. That way I'm not interfering with any logic that's running up here. Say by mistake I return the wrong object. So selected's right here. We want to go doUpdate right here, because this means we've updated our components first, and then we want to do, actually we'll do doUpdate first, then we'll do update components. And we'll figure it out. If it doesn't work out well, we'll see what we want to do, because we don't want to be doing anything like super fancy to get all this stuff to work. Okay, so we put that there, separate that, get the current component mouse is over. We just want to make sure we document our stuff. I've been getting a bad habit where I haven't been documenting as well. Okay, and we got that. Then we can go and copy this, go back to here, put it over here, and then we can get rid of that return call. And then what we want to do in here is we want to reset everything pretty much. We want to figure out what everything's going on. We do need to do a couple more events here. So we can make our code more efficient by simply firing event calls off when things actually happen. So we go public void on entity selection change. So if our entity that we've got selected changes, then we want to actually change that. So we want to pass back game display, and then we'll just go game display.get entity selected. Or actually, no, we'll pass an entity in too. So entity. So this is where we're going to change our stats rendered on the screen about our current entity. This will come here a bit later. So we go here, we go past down here, and of course we want to override it. And then what we're going to do is in the game, or not the game object, so we don't want this, don't need that, in the game display. By the way, I added an is alive check to a lot of this stuff, so you can't repeatedly attack something if it's dead. Render code, well actually, I need to put this up on the render code as well. So we want to go this, and we want to go is alive. That'll say if you're dead, you disappear, but the game doesn't actually remove your entity until the next tick. But yeah, actually, we won't do this. We'll do some special rendering to say your character's dead, and then you'll disappear next tick. Let's see. Where do we want to put this? So we do our selection right here, selected entity, and we want to go for GUI, and then I'm going to go GUI map dot values, and we want to go if GUI doesn't equal null. We then want to go GUI dot on entity selection change this, and then select entity. So we know if it's null, we need to clear all of our components. And what we're going to clear when this actually gets called is that we have a weapon row and an item row. These two need to, I wouldn't say disappear, because we want something to render there, but we need whatever items were in here to disappear. So this is tricky, because I think I do need to create a new button class. Actually, I think I just need to create a new scroll row class altogether. Because we need an array of weapons, and then we got to render that array. So we need to keep a track of our current position, and then when the position changes, we need to move that via the cursors, and we need to render objects in there. You know, I'm going to hit that up another day, we're going to do the enemy row and we're going to do button clicks. So we want to do abilities. So I'm going to go on selected change. We want to then change out our ability buttons. So we know with a grid, the grid's going to be basically everything's going to be the same. So then we want to go for component, and then we want to go ability row dot component list. We want to go if component is an instance of button. We then want to just set its action thing. So we're going to go if entity equals null first. We then want to go actually, so we need to cast this to button. It's not going to show me that the data I'm looking for until I cast it. Not what I wanted. Button dot not on click. I think I'm gonna have to go to the button class real quick, and yeah, it's okay. So I'm gonna set this to public real quick. I'm gonna change it to a setter here later, but at the moment it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go like action, I believe. Actually, what was that called? It's called event. Essentially, we are making an event system, except we're not actually making an event provider. But so we just want to set this to null because there's nothing that's going to happen. And we want to go int ability index equals 0, and we're going to go if component. Oh shoot. So we go and if ability index is greater than or equal to entity dot actions dot size. So if we're larger than the size of actions, we can't do that. Actually, we want to do or here. If we're not, we then want to go button dot event equals new event pretty much. We do need to create that code here. So we're going to call, pretty much call it action callback is a good way to put it. I actually need to make a new package here. Actions. So we're going to move it here. I got notified on my phone about something here. Skype needs your attention. Which should be something retarded like my password expired. I'll leave that there real quick. So we're going to make a new button action. We're going to just call this action callback. So button click action. Actually, so no, we need to rename this. Button click event is what we need to call this. And then we need to make a new class. Button action caller. There's no easy way to name this, so I know what these are. So button click event action caller. Button click event action maybe? Or we'll just call it button click action. I think it's going to name it the same thing as our previous one, but sometimes when you're developing stuff, there's no easy way to get what you're looking for. And what we're going to do is pretty much on left click, we want to set our action. So we're going to go like this. Yeah, by the way, that Skype thing, my password expired. That's legitimately what it was doing. So we want to go and we want to set final string action ID pretty much. And we're going to go public button click action and then string action ID. And then this dot action ID equals action ID. It's pretty simplistic what this is going to do. You left click it and it sets the action that you're going to be using. And then it'll go to left display and we're actually probably going to wipe out control mode. Yeah, we'll just wipe out control mode real quick. It's actually an obsolete class now. So this will be string entity action or current selected entity action is what we're going to call this. And then we also need to make sure that if our entity ever changes, so if we ever change our currently selected entity, we just get rid of things. And what we need to do is do this. And we want to go if current selected entity action equals null, and then we're in select mode. That's literally how easy that works. Look at that. That pretty much clears off a lot of things. We are missing something here. Actually, we're not missing anything. I was trying to think, like, do right click? No, it's like it's left click on somewhere else. We'll deselect the entity you currently have deselected. We'll do it that way real quick, because then that, and we'll do current selected action equals null, just to guarantee that it is set to null. That way, if for some reason you had a current action selected, but then your selected entity reset on you, it would fix itself. And then we want to do this real quick. We're just going to recycle the attack thing for pretty much everything for the moment. We're going to probably have to make more textures. I do need to start recycling some of this code though, because I'm recreating meshes more often than I need to, because all the meshes can be moved and relocated. But that should update our selected entity. Then in the game GUI, we just go new button click action, and then we just want to go entity.actions.get ability index plus plus. By putting the plus plus at the end rather than the beginning, it will only increment after it is passed in the ability to the thing. If you put it in the front, it'll increment it first and then pass it in, and we don't want that because this will out of bounds. That's the reason why we got here. So say we had one ability, which is what we actually do have. We're only going to get, my brain failed on me. If we only have one ability, the first index is going to be 0, so our size is going to be 1. So this statement is going to be false because we're not equal to 1 and we're not greater than 1. But what happens as soon as it increments the next row, then our index will be 1 because our size is 1, we're equivalent to size 1. And we put the greater than check to say in case something stupid happens. You always want to do that unless you absolutely know your code's going to run without a fail. I've actually seen people's code for whatever reason. You watch the logic and the logic should have worked where the equal check would have set correctly. And then for some reason, it got above there and it just kept looping and looping and looping. And of course this will crash, but say in the exact case I was thinking in my head was a furnace that somebody had built from Minecraft. It was supposed to stop at tick 200 because that's the point which it smells items. It went to 201, 202, 203, and it kept going up, and then it failed and eventually crashed the game. It just took it forever to do that. But we set our ability action, we set it to null, so we are junking objects. We can add another check here. Else if button.event equals, or button.event is an instance of button click action. And then we can reset it maybe? We're going to have to make this not final though. So we're going to have to go button click action dot action ID equals this right here. And that should save us from junking object data. We're still going to have some junk data because we are getting rid of a string value, but at this point we're so low on the who cares mode. To be honest, we don't even need this. We don't even be saving this much, but it just a little bit extra helps every single time. Although I think I'm hitting one of those early optimization bugs that I really shouldn't be. Or early optimization points that ends up causing bugs. This won't cause bugs, but there is a role when developing that you don't want to optimize early. This is optimizing early. It's a really bad process. This should work. We need to go back to our button click action, and then we need to go k display. Oh, why did it do that? I'm on cap locks, that's why. Display dot current. Oh, so we're gonna have to go here and actually fix this. So display dot current selected action equals action ID. And of course, when we go to program the server logic, what this will actually do is set the action. Then when the person actually clicked to fire the action, instead of firing the action client side, unless we want to do some graphics client side, it will send a packet server side. Then the server side will go, yeah, you can do that action, and it'll fire the packet off the server side. Then it'll send a packet client side going, okay, go ahead and execute the action. But this part will always remain the same. We're just setting current action, and we're good to go. We need to do one more thing. We need to go here real quick. Public boolean. We're gonna call this button logic. It's actually what we're gonna change this to. Button logic. So we're gonna call this public boolean should render. And we're gonna pass in game display to it. And by default, it'll always return true. But in the above case, so this right here, if action equals null, then we're going to return, it doesn't equal null. Okay, we can do one more thing. Display dot select or currently selected entity, or current entity is what we need, but I think it's private. Where are we even setting the selected entity at? It's up here, and we're down here. You know what? We're going to move this up here, and we're going to make this public. And we're going to go ahead and make the game public too, because I don't really care if it gets changed. Actually, we make a public final, and that way you don't have to worry about it getting changed. And we'll just change this real quick. Put a document above it. Current selected entity. This is pretty obvious by the name selected entity, but you want to just, with documentation in general, always make sure you tell people what's going on. And we're going to then do this for the same thing since I just said that. Object, current game controlling the display. Okay, we want to go here, so I'm going to go if selected entity doesn't equal null. Doesn't equal null. And display dot selected entity dot actions dot contains action ID. I actually want to change this. We're going to call this something different. Rename base method is enabled. Because what we just did is we're checking to see if the button itself is enabled. And then we want to do a different check for is actually render mode. Essentially, that would be the same check we already had. Should render. And we'll use this for a variety of things, but the enabled one is what we want to do because we don't want to pass button click logic to a button that isn't enabled. So we're going to go to our button object. Event doesn't equal null, and event dot is enabled. And we pass in display. And we're going to rename this to event to logic is what we're going to call this. And we're going to exclude comments because I still never fully understand why it wants to always rename comments when the comments have almost nothing to do with any of this stuff. Okay, so this controls the logic, and then we want to go, since we actually haven't finished this, on click display, mouse X. I think I got distracted in the last video and didn't finish this. So that's going to call, oh yeah, because we need to pass that button. Okay. So this real quick. There's a few other things we want to actually put in here. Is there an actual method for is visible? Yeah, there is one. Okay. This will make life easier. So super.isVisible, and then we want to go if event. So I'm going to go if logic doesn't equal null, and then logic dot is enabled, or no, it should render, and then oh shit, we don't got a display. We need to change our method here. Display. We actually want to do it if logic equals null, or because you want your component to render if it doesn't have a logic attached to it, just because it helps life out. There could be additional things we actually will do to make this work, but we'll get to those here in a second. First thing first, I need to actually go to my component here. I need to figure out how visible is used. Find usage. It is literally just used in our render method call, which does not pass the display in. We need to change that. Then we would hit build and build real quick because yeah, there's gonna be a few things that are gonna error. So that's gonna error, and then our main method's gonna error here because we need to make sure this one passes in display as well. Hit build real quick. At this point, I'm just tempted to just make an instance object so we're not passing this around all the time. Okay, this is what I want to pass in. Wow, we fucked up a lot of code just doing that really simple task. I've done this in Minecraft before. I've like spent days just rebuilding code segments because I wanted to add like 2 or 3 variables and then had to go edit like 16 mods to do it. And you think I joke when I say 16 mods, but back when I worked on Universal Electricity, I worked on almost everybody's mods at the same time. Because once you get in charge of the API, you need to make sure that anything depending on the API gets updated when the API updates. It's one of the reasons why we became notorious back in like 1.5 and 1.6 because we never had a stable version. Not because the code itself failed, but because we kept changing the API over and over again, which is something you never want to do. I learned that the hard way. I got a Facebook update on my phone. I don't use Facebook, and yet I still get the updates. Anyways, we need an add override here. Got an alarm there. Running low on time here because technically I need to be in class right now, but I'm going to ignore class, especially since the professor is almost always late. But we're going to go ahead and test this. So if I select an entity, and I click here, and I click like that, okay, it did not work. Okay, so Tem is selected. You know what, we're going to render up here what our name of our entity that is currently selected, and then we're going to render what the object is that we have selected. So we're going to copy this code, and we're just going to duplicate it twice. We're going to recycle our variable here for a string, and we're going to go k entity, and then we're going to go select, or I want to do this, plus, make sure I have that at the end so it stops complaining. I'm going to go, okay, if selected entity doesn't equal null, we're going to go selected entity dot get display name. If not, we want to say none. And then we want to repeat this same exact logic here. We want to then go, oh no, actually we just want to do current selected entity action doesn't equal null. Then when we go currently selected entity action, if not none, then we do action. And then these need to be on the left side of the screen. So you want to go top, and then it's down by 0.5, and this one needs to be down by 1. 0.1 just to keep a nice space here. And then on the X, we want to go camera bound left plus 2. Yeah, it sounds about right. Actually, 1.2 would actually probably work a little better. So we want to be slightly off the edge here. So we're going to open this up again. Okay, so yeah, we got those two there. So if I select here, we've got Tim selected. If I click Kiss, we've got the move selected. Okay, move is not activating, and you know why move isn't activating? Because there's no code for it. There's no code to tell what to do with the actions. So we're going to go down here. I completely neglected the fact that just because I have an action selected does not mean we're going to do something. So let's see. Else if currently selected action doesn't equal null. And we can actually remove this because we have a not null check up here. So we know if it's not null, we're here. And we want to do this on both our left and right click. We then want to call, so we want to do something. So we go action equals action.get currently selected action. Do this on both down here. We'll actually code this in a second, but we're going to go action dot can do action, I guess is the first thing we're going to do. So I'm going to go selected entity. This is going to null point if I don't make sure that selected entity isn't null. Which means I got to put my null check down back below here because we don't know which of these is null. We can assume that one of them is null, but we're just going to do this. Because in reality, if either one of these is null, then this else statement should do this. And Java's just going to go like this, and it's going to delete that here in the real-time code when we go to run it. But we would go can do action, and we want to go pass in game.getWorld. Then what else do we want to pass in? We want to pass in the X and the Y and the floor. Let's see what that was. Ah, yeah, okay, one of my interns is asking for the drivers. He wants to look at this game, but I don't have the drivers in the repository because I don't know which drivers we need. I don't want to be loading like all 40, 50 native drivers I have on my computer. Actually, I can show this real quick. We'll just go tabletop game dev, libs, natives. I have this folder. This is every single driver that LWGL uses for all of its libraries. So these are the drivers for things like OpenAL, OpenGL, OpenGLES. I don't know which of these ones the games use and which of these ones the games do not use. And I got to figure that out here eventually. As soon as I figure it out, I can upload the natives. When I actually get that figured out, we're going to be building build scripts here pretty soon that this game will be executable on your computer. We'll start releasing test versions, I'm guessing in a month. Test version literally would be a randomized map with enemies and you can kill people. That'll be the test version. I won't do any more than that. It would be like playing Minecraft creative mode. To be honest, I probably could code this to work on a site too, but I just don't feel like it. Okay, so when we go can do, actually no, this is actually checked, and then when we go do action. Just in case there's a different action between left and right click, we want to make sure that actually is set. So this is left, and then we're going to go action.do action, and we'll pass in the same things. Game.getWorld, tile X, tile Y, floor, and then actually this is true is what this needs to be. I'm trying to pass in that, and then copy this down here. And we want to do the same thing except we want to return false. on both these objects. We are going to have to go really quickly to our action class and recode this one. So this would be Boolean left, and so will the one be down here. So we want to go not left because we want to move on right click. And then we want to go, same thing here, we want to go if not left. Then we just want to go entity set position. Okay, so this should all work. So we're going to hit run main. Alright, I need to go quickly load up my multiplayer game of Factorio because one of my buddies just got back and I promised I'll have it loaded up for him. Click admin, allow anybody to pause and type in the password and hit play. Okay, so if we select Tim, then we click the first button, we can move. Look at that. We have buttons, we have movement. All I gotta do is start to render different icons here, set move, put a attack icon here. If we select that, of course we deselected. You know what? We're not. You know what we need to do? I need to reset after each action. That's something I failed to do here. So if we call down here, what we want to do is go currently selected action equals null. So after every click, no matter if it went through properly or if it didn't go through properly, we want to clear it. Because if we don't do that, then we can't use any of our other controls. So let's go ahead and load this up real quick. And we'll test it out. So when we click here, we want to then click this, move here. If I left click, it didn't reset. Okay. Why didn't it reset? Oh, I'm setting current GPI. Oh man. This is what I get for trying to rush. Okay. I might move this to the entity itself because, to be honest, it should be on the entity because then the AI needs to select what its current action is and everything else needs to be selected. We're going to have to reload this because I'm not in debug mode. I got to fix the main thread. The main thread isn't killing when we hit stop on here, so something's wrong. And we'll have to fix that shortly. Or I won't fix in this video because, yeah, I want to do other things. Okay, so we selected entity. We then need to select move. We then move. Yeah, see, there we go, reset. And then if I hit left click, we unselect, select, click move, click right click. And then, yeah, we're good to go. And then we just need to figure out some way, like I need to work on the controls some more here, because if I hit left click and I hit left click here, why we have an action selected, so if I do this, I need to get rid of it. And apparently I actually need to do, we need to move up here, is what we actually need to do. So this needs to be here. Because if we can't do an action on the click, we need to not do the action on the click. And then we can do one more thing. Because I want to add this, because this will be pretty useful. Boolean should free mouse. And then we want to return true by default. And then we want to go does use mouse. We'll document this. Should mouse be freed after clicking? And then we'll go here. Should the mouse, or does this action use the mouse click? So these are important because there could be actions we have selected that don't use the mouse. There's no left or right click on them. They just instantaneously activate when you click them. So we need to keep that in mind. So we need to do. So the reason why I want to do this is I want to put somewhere here that if we don't use a mouse piece, so if we don't use the mouse, we need to free the mouse. So we actually need to do this. So event consumed equals false. So we go down here and we want to go event consumed because then we can go like this. We go if action dot does use mouse, and we would go true. And then we do this, and if it doesn't use the mouse, we don't use the event. Yeah, that should work out well, because then I can do this, and I can go if action dot should free mouse, and then go true. And we go like that. And we can also do here Boolean completed. So we can add an extra Boolean there. So we can go Boolean completed equals false, and we pass in completed here. And then we can go, can actually return here. So Boolean, and we return true by default in here because why not? And we go completed equals this. And we just got to duplicate this code down to the next thing. So we go down here and we just copy and paste this code. And we'll hit reformat in a second. And then I just need to put this up here. Actually, I need to move the Boolean down because we don't need it. We don't need to create it up there. Then we just need to set this to false because we're using this as right click. Eventually this will change from true false to actually telling you what mouse button you click, so it'll pass in an ID. So you'll have 0, which is mouse left, 1 is mouse right, 2 is mouse middle, and then for those people that have macro mouses, there's more than a couple buttons for them. And then yeah, we want to go event consumed. So event consumed equals true here. And then we want to do the same thing here. And event consumed equals true. And we can put it here, and we can put it here. Right now we don't have any event that we do down here like this, but we're going to leave the code in here just because it's usable. And then what we need to do is we go to our move logic again, and we just need to start using event. And we go Boolean real quick. So this will be return true, and this will be return false because we didn't do anything on right click on this. And then we want to go here, and we want to go, yeah, we're going to free mouse. Actually, we're going to copy these two, and we're going to change them. So we only use left click oh no, we use not left click actually. So it's false, so we only use right click for movement. And then we should free mouse on complete. Oh no, we want to do false. So reason why we're doing false here, and we only want to do, actually, if we want to free mouse on left click, if we ever, for some reason, we'll just document. Our left clicker actually, we need to pass the entity in. So we need data, we need more data. So I need to pass the entity into the object. So I want to pass in, we'll pass in the entity right now, and we'll change the code as here later. The reason why we're going to do this is I want to free on basically if we run out of stamina points, we want to free the mouse. So put this here, and we want to go or entity.canMove. If the entity cannot move, then we can't move anymore. So we're gonna free the mouse. Right now we don't tick down movement points. We'll eventually do that. So we're gonna go to do consume movement points, and then we want to go to do check if can move to point, to do path find except. So there's a few things we need to do in the movement check here. But if we load this back up, then what we should be able to do is if I select the entity, why is it not working? Oh, no, it's not. What? I broke something. Okay. I think it's obvious what I broke, and I gotta get back to the. So we wanna close out of this real quick. So I get rid of a lot of my junk on my screen. It's down here. We messed up on our event consumed. If not consumed is what we need to use. So okay, select entity, click move. Then I should continuously be able to move until I left click. Or no, left click isn't being passed through. So it's probably because this isn't being used. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to get rid of this line and we're going to restart and try this again, and then we'll call it quits as soon as I get it done. That way I can segment this video, which has been going on for 46 minutes, and try to keep them under an hour, which is at least hour-long videos are now slightly more accepted on YouTube. It used to be that when early days in YouTube, it was like if you weren't under 15 minutes, you weren't making videos correctly. Then they kind of did away with that whole notion. So we got here, select this. Okay, we can move around, and if I left-click, it clears off my selection. That is exactly what I want. So that way I can go, okay, I want to select this entity now. I want to then move. And what we might actually do is we might make the default selected action movement mode. So select this and then move. And we need to draw lines and stuff to where we're moving to, and that's a few other things. But we'll do that in another video, so I'll see you guys.